Yvette says, hello, any advice for a parent who stood home for 10 years to take care of children or ill family members? Okay, here's my advice. The traditional way of getting a job is by having absolutely no connection with these people whatsoever, and you go through standard channels. That means you go through their hiring process, their formal recruitment and selection process. And they say, if you want to work here, here's what you do. You go to this website, right? You fill in this form, you submit your application, then we contact you, right? You can't see my hand clapping. That's what this sound is. It's just off screen, right? So it feels like someone got slapped. That's their standard process. That's what they want you to do officially, okay? Now, the problem is that if you follow their standard employment process, okay, that favors certain types of candidates and it really filters out others, okay? Now, there's exceptions to everything, but generally speaking, people with work gaps don't really fit into the philosophy that recruiters are taught, okay? How do I know this? Because I used to teach recruiters in university for a period, okay? They are taught that if someone is out of work for a while, that makes them a higher risk candidate. Because, oh, sure, they can give you an explanation to justify it and say, it's because of this. But do you really know that that's the truth? No, you don't. So it's risky, right? Now, it's stupid, but that's how they think, okay? Recruiters are not trying to find the best candidate. That's pretty damn hard, even for some of the smartest, most resourceful people in the world. What they're trying to do is they're trying to find the least risky candidate. That's something that they can do. That's more realistic. So unfortunately, that process tends to filter out perfectly good people that don't fit into a certain category. And if you've had work gaps, that's one of the things that they filter out. Generalists are another thing that they filter out, right? There's several of these. Now, does that mean that you can't get a job? Of course not. It just means that you have to do what most people do, okay? Because most people actually don't get a job doing the thing I just described, where you don't know the company, you don't know anyone there, and you go to the website, and you fill in an application, and then you wait to be called, right? And then you follow their interview process, right? Most people don't actually get hired that way. And if you don't believe me on that, don't take my word for it. Go do your own research and discover this for yourself, okay? The way most people, in fact, get hired is some form of networking. Now, you say that you are freelance, you've done freelance work as a special education advocate. You've also been like taking care of children and family members for 10 years. What I'm wondering is, do you have any connections? Certainly through your special education advocate thing, okay? Have you met people on the inside of the educational system? Maybe you don't work with them super closely, but you know of them. You've maybe met them once or twice. You could easily get like a meeting or have a conversation with them if you wanted to, right? Because you're on the inside of this world or this system, right? You know, that would be the most likely and most promising way to get a job, okay? Is if you talk to not one, but several of those people, take advantage of connections that you have on the inside, right? You report to someone who's like a manager of some kind, presumably an administrator or something. They know other administrators. They may know people above them, maybe like some kind of superintendent or, whatever, right? Principal, I don't know. And, you have a conversation with them and you say like, listen, you could do it a variety of different ways. But the point is you have those personal connections. Now you're much more of a real choice if they're looking for someone. If they do have a vacancy that you are qualified to fill, before they start just posting it and vetting strangers, they would much rather look at someone like you because you are much less risky. You've been working in their organization for a while. You're a known quantity. They'd easily be able to ask all the people that are within their own organization, like, what do you think of this person? You've worked with them for a couple of years. Are they good? Like, what do you think? The fact that you've remained employed there for a while suggests that you're at least half decent. And that's a lot less risky than taking a chance on a stranger, even if that stranger on paper looks more qualified. You know what I mean? Because remember, this is about risk. It's not about absolute qualifications, right? So I would go that vector. Maybe as a homemaker, you've been connected to maybe other parents. I don't know if you're, forgive me if this is like an oversimplification, but like almost, I'm thinking almost like soccer mom type, you're dealing with kids all the time and, stuff like this. You might encounter other parents and other people out in the world. And through those connections, you learn that, if you put out feelers like I'm looking for something, or you hear about they're hiring at my husband's job or my wife's job, whatever, like that's a lot more promising. You've got that personal connection. So I would examine those honestly and go that direction. If you've never done anything like this before, this is a learning opportunity for you. It'll really, really open doors for you. It'll empower you. It might feel a bit weird at first, but I highly recommend it, and it will be more promising than applying through the default recruitment and selection process for organizations where they take your application and they compare you to everybody else on a level playing field, and and then they filter out things like work gaps and you haven't dedicated your life to teaching or whatever. Okay, so I don't know if that's helpful, but it's that kind of approach that I would take. I would learn all you can about that. If you do want to do that with me, I've got stuff on my YouTube channel. I've also got this course, which is like, where I put all that stuff in like one place. So you could check that out. But that's kind of the world it's far more promising than doing the job application thing. Yvette says, yes, I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom and I'm proud of it. Well, right on. Hey, like, I don't know the right expression, but is it the grass is always greener? It's like, people don't understand, on one hand, it appears that stay-at-home mom thing or stay-at-home parent thing is like, it's like a joyride, like an easy ride, it's an easy thing. And it can be for some people, but that's certainly not universal. Like there's a lot of people that work damn hard, trying to pull everything together. They have a very challenging family situation. They maybe have a child with a disability, like whatever, it's no picnic. And in addition to, you're not bringing in like a real solid income from it. In addition, you get sort of the stigma around it. People look down on you, because of it. And a lot of those people don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's not all peaches and cream for everybody. There's some real challenges, that people have, and it's not super easy. So I'm not sure where you fit on that, but, I'm not closed-minded to just saying, oh, you're a stay-at-home mom and therefore you must be lazy or you're living the dream when everybody else has to work or something. It's like, no, absolutely not. You should be proud of it. And it's good that you want to rejoin the workforce too. If you're in a situation where, like if you're taking care, you mentioned like taking care of a sick family member, that's not a picnic. That takes a lot of resilience depending on your situation. It can be damn hard. I don't know if I would have the what it takes to be able to do that like for more than like a week or two. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you should be proud. Yvette says, I was looking for a corporate job for better pay. However, I'm willing to get back in the workforce any way I can. Yeah, well, look at that. That kind of shows some fortitude right there. If you're not being arrogant about it, you're saying like, look, if I got to start at the bottom, I'm willing to do it. Not a lot of people have it. Some people have that, but other people don't. They have like this very arrogant kind of entitled type of thing going on. And, I want to get back in the workforce, but I don't want to start here or here. I want to start here, and damn it, I deserve to start here. And it's like, sometimes that's just out to lunch, depending on details.